Good evening. Okay. That's about a C+. I'm Beverly Cosham. I'm chair of the RCC Board of Governors. And on behalf of my colleagues on the board and our staff, we welcome you to RCC Hunters Woods tonight for this very important kickoff to a community engagement process. In a moment, I will turn this over to the consultants who will shepherd us through these meetings. First, I want to make sure, just as she said earlier, that you avail yourselves of the box lunches over there, box dinner, box whatever meal you missed. And before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Hunter Mill District Supervisor who is here with us tonight. Walter Alcorn. Thank you for joining us, Walter, and everyone. If you know people who are not here tonight who have views about this, please encourage them to visit the project webpage often. Meetings will be taped and posted there for those who are unable to attend them. You are welcome to put your ideas and views in writing to rcccontact@fairfaxcounty.gov. And I just want to say I'm a music person, so. Okay. I should have been in band, but anyway. And now, without further ado, Sue Haynes and Amy Upton from the architect firm of Grimm and Parker. Take it away, ladies.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Bev. Welcome, everyone. Again, we really appreciate you all coming out tonight. I know it's a Monday night, it's winter, we're still in a pandemic, it's Valentine's Day. I'll take my mask off, sorry. But we really look forward to hearing all of your input tonight on this feasibility phase for the exciting potential Reston Arts Center project. This event, as Bev mentioned, is the first in a series of meetings that we're going to be having. And we're really hoping to get this input from all of you, from the Reston community and the Fairfax community at large, to help inform the programming and the resulting cost estimate that will be part of this feasibility plan process. Your feedback tonight and in all of our meetings is crucial to help us plan and design the facility so that it best meets the need for your community and for the needs and wants of all of you and the arts. So as Bev mentioned, this is being recorded. We're going to be posting this on the YouTube link from the Reston website, and just by being here, you have consented to being recorded, which is great. There will be a couple virtual meetings towards the end of this engagement process that they'll also be recorded via Zoom, and also just again, encourage any of your neighbors or coworkers or family members that weren't able to come tonight to watch the YouTube video, send your comments, questions, all of that through the email and the website. We just want to get as much input as we can, so any of those ways are great. We also wanted to thank Reston Community Center for hosting this event and helping to facilitate the dialogue that we have with the community that we're kicking off tonight. And DPWES, they're here representing the county's interest in reviewing the proffer, and they have their considerable technical expertise in this type of capital facility development. So we're well suited for that. I'm Amy Upton with Grimm and Parker Architects, and I'm joined by Sue Haynes from Grimm and Parker and Julia Pryor, and the three of us are acting as consultants. We're going to be leading these discussions and really just translating what we hear from you into a form of programming and space planning that we can do to sort of test fit the site and then generate a cost estimate. So, welcome. So, brief agenda for tonight. We have about 20 minutes or so of just showing you some slides and giving you a little bit of scene setting and background. if you could just hold your Q&A until after that, we're going to have a lot of engagement with you all. So that'll leave us about an hour for some discussion with you, and we have some questions to go through in order. And then at the end, we can have some wrap up, a little more Q&A, and then talk about the next steps. So to get you thinking about things, we thought we would do some polls just to figure out who's here in the audience. And even though this is in person, we could do it virtually. We have this poll works with your cell phone, or if you don't want to use your cell phone, we have clickers that we can hand out to you, and they've all been cleaned. But if you want to use your cell phone, you just type in the web address, www.ttpoll.com. Don't search for it, just type in the address. You can also download an app, but I guarantee no one's probably going to want to download an app. You do not need to enter in any personal information. You don't need to put a name in or an email or anything, but it will prompt you, if you're using your cell phone, to put in a session ID, and you can just type RAC Meet. It's not, that's for the Reston Arts Community Meeting. It's not case sensitive, so you could just type RACMEET, and it should say waiting for presenter or polling is closed. Anybody, and then if you have a clicker, you just hold the clicker. But you can look at it, and there's little letters and numbers on the clicker that you can use, and all of that information will come together in here. So this is real low-stakes question just to get us going here. What's your age? We're going to wait a little bit. Oh, we already have 20 responses, which is great. So the questions are, what's your age? A, 18 to 24. B, 25 to 44, C, 45 to 64, and D, 65 and over. We already have 31 responses. If anybody needs more time, just raise your hand. We're not rushing. Okay. Yeah, sorry, for the clickers, it doesn't acknowledge that you've voted. You just press the button once and it goes. That's why the cell phone also, it's not like it doesn't turn green or say, check, it's just there. So you just press the button and, sorry, it's RACMEET, RAC Meet, for the Reston Arts Center meeting. And we realized the clicker is like a little hard to see, but we'll work it out next time. Maybe we could get them to light up or something. Okay, so we have about 34 responses, which is fantastic. I mean, this is great. So, okay, so here are our results. You can see them on your phone if you're looking at your phone, and then also on the screen. But, yeah, Lila, you were right. We didn't need to put under 18 because no one is here currently between 18 and 24. But it looks like we're all adults, and it's great. Okay, the next one. This one's a little more fun. You can choose up to 3, and again, it's not going to really tell you when you're done. So just pick 3 of your, or 1 if you have a favorite art form, or you can, we've bent the rules, and you can have 3 favorites if you'd like. We wrote in here theater, B is painting/visual arts, C is digital video film, D is sculpture 3D, E is music, F is dance, G is street art or festivals, H is other. This is good. We already have 40 responses. You guys are really good with it. Took Sue and Julie and I a lot longer when we were practicing. Sue didn't have the right browser on her phone. She had to upgrade her phone. Okay, 40 responses. We're gonna click here. Okay, so this is good. A lot of folks here, their favorite art form, I would say, more than a quarter is theater. Music coming in a close second to that. And we only have 2% of other. So would anybody like to volunteer what the other is? If you just want to raise your hand, we can actually bring a microphone over to you, or you can shout it out and I'll repeat it. Culinary arts, yeah, that's a good one. Sorry, we forgot about that. Any others for other? Okay. Well, then I guess we picked some good ones here, but it's good to see what people's favorite art forms are. Okay, and then this one is just about just getting some more demographic information about who's in the room. So what best describes your ethnicity? We took this ordering and the categories directly from the U.S. Census, so it seemed like it was a good way to list all the different varieties. So Asian or Pacific Islander, Black or African American, C is Hispanic or Latino, D, Native American or Alaskan Native, E is White or Caucasian, F, multiracial or biracial, and G, a race ethnicity not listed above. So everyone is very quick at this polling. We're already on 42 responses. Okay, E, White or Caucasian is the majority here, but that's great. And we'll be able to export all this, and it'll be in the PDF that we'll put on the website, just if people need to look back at these polls. And then, in just an interest of making sure that this facility is always going to be fully accessible and we meet the needs of everybody, we were just asking this question of, are you differently abled? You can choose all that apply, but we're thinking about with an art center, often there's barriers to participate for a variety of reasons, and it could have to do with hearing challenges, a vision challenge, cognitive challenge, ambulatory challenge, a self-care challenge, independent living challenge, or G, none of these apply. And I understand that tonight there may be vision challenge for those clickers, but we're glad some of you are able to use your cell phones then. All right, so we have 42 responses. I'm going to close the poll. So none of these apply is the majority here, but we do have some votes for hearing challenge, vision challenge, a little bit of independent living challenge, and then a small amount for cognitive and ambulatory. So that's good. We'd love to hear from everybody as we go through these meetings about what we can do in this facility to make it much more welcoming for everybody. So keep the clickers for now. We'll do another poll later, and don't worry about closing out on your phone. You can just put your phone away if you'd like. But thank you very much for humoring us and participating in that. We wanted to just share a little background so that everybody's on the same page about what we've done in the past, what's been done, and where we're going with this feasibility study. So these community meetings that we're kicking off tonight, it's just being undertaken so that we can understand your community needs. The proposed art center would be a result of a proffer from Boston Properties at Reston Next in Block J. We'll show a little bit more about the site later on. The proffer right now is organized to provide for an approximately 60,000 gross square foot facility to house a stage suitable for large-scale music and dance performances, as well as other arts-related amenities. And that's a pretty loaded sentence, and we'd love to drill down with all of you about what you see as answering your needs for other arts-related amenities. The county and Reston Community Center will seek to maximize the ability of this project to meet the goals of One Fairfax and the countywide strategic plan. If undertaken, this project will result in a facility that serves everyone equitably and with high quality. So basically, the county and Reston Community Center really is planning on being very good stewards of public funds and taxpayer money with this, and make sure that it's a high quality facility and represents everyone. They want to maximize usefulness and activation of all capital projects undertaken on behalf of the public. The RCC will not raise the Small District 5 tax rate to accomplish this project, and the county will seek partners for funding for the capital project. We're not interested tonight in discussing opposition to the project. This is really a feasibility study of what can take place on that site and inside the scope of the feasibility study, but please, of course, forward any feedback, questions, comments to the fairfaxcounty.gov email. It's rcccontact@fairfaxcounty.gov, and it's also on the website. So just to sort of set the goal for this meeting and the next few meetings, we would love to hear lots about your preferences, priorities, your goals, your hopes, dreams, concerns. Try to answer any questions that you have tonight. If you, all of the input that we're going to get from tonight and the subsequent meetings will help inform the design of the site and the project. And speaking of other meetings, every 2 weeks, for the next few weeks, we'll be having smaller focus group meetings. There'll be a performing arts focus group in 2 weeks from now, Monday, February 28th. Then we will, on March 14th, have a visual arts focus group. This is also all on the website. And then on Monday, March 28th, it's a little confusing. February and March, the days are the exact same throughout the month. But on Monday, March 28th, there'll be a focus group on arts education, schools, equity, opportunity neighborhoods, and that one will be a Zoom platform, so that will be virtual. And then 1 week later, on Monday, April 4th at 6:30, we'll also have a Zoom meeting, which will be a general wrap-up. So just talking about the project overview in general, there have been a lot of past studies. Perhaps a lot of you are familiar with the variety of studies and surveys that have already taken place about this. And all the years of outreach and analysis have given all of us confidence that the Reston Arts Center feasibility study is the next logical step to take. As you know, or hopefully know, the residents are enthusiastic for quality and familiar programs. We want to make sure that they're affordable, convenient, very close proximity to where people live, work, and play. We know that schools are not always a viable option for most nonprofits, and venue space as a result is often difficult to schedule and costly. And then as a result, support space is in demand, or it exists where the performances aren't. They don't always overlap. And so I want to make sure that this facility has enough support space as well. Studio space, rehearsal space, storage, all of that. So if you want to know more about the past studies and surveys, a lot of them are linked on the website, fairfaxcounty.gov. And we just want to make sure that this facility is right-sited and optimized for all the needs of your community so that we don't have to rely on a lot of alternative community spaces being used. This feasibility study scope, we're going to have these 5 meetings. We're going to be working internally with our team to have a preliminary site assessment. We'll be working also on some space programming exercises. All of this will help us create an order of magnitude cost estimate. And one thing that's very important is also that the goal to meet and actually ideally exceed the project's sustainability goals will be foremost in our guiding principles. So LEED Gold certification, 50% or more expected energy savings over a baseline. We're going to look at all electric building systems and equipment and then do some analysis of net zero energy potential. And of course, we don't want to forget that we'll be incorporating public art in some way. So we need to plan for that. So the basic calendar for this, again, this is on the website if you don't need to take notes, but this outreach time frame is going to go from February through April, and we'll be working from April through June of this year on preliminary the programming, the concepts, the cost estimating, all that will be a feedback loop on itself. And then we're looking at a community re-engagement and proffer determinations in June or July. And then the actual building design and construction is all determined on all of that. So that just is right now to be determined. It all depends on the outcome of the feasibility study. So just looking at the site a little more closer, what can we expect to learn from the site? As you know, the site is in Reston, right in the heart, or the northern part of Fairfax County. Here's just a street view of that. It's just south of the Reston Town CEnter, and it's actually an extremely attractive site right off of Sunset Hills Road. you can see on the image, there's a little hatch pattern of the site right off of Sunset Hills Road, just south of the Reston Town Center there. And it's very close proximity to the Dulles Toll Road. We have some great metro accessibility with a bridge across and pedestrian bridge. There's also the pedestrian bridges that go over the W&O&D Trail. So there's, the site may look big on an aerial view here, but when you actually get down and walk it, it's very manageable, pedestrian friendly. There's a bus depot just on the north side of the site, currently at the Reston Town CEnter. And we also like to look at the solar orientation of the site just to make sure that all of our passive design goals can be met. But this building has great southern orientation on Sunset Hills Road and very small east and west orientations because that's usually challenging to shade and control glare. So we're well suited for that. And then we just overlaid here a little snippet of the master plan development diagram that the proffer has here. And if you've actually been to the site recently, you'll see that buildings B and A are almost complete. They've been under construction for a while. They even have some public art up, and then C is not quite under construction yet. So it's a very walkable space. Then they're planning on a lot of gathering spaces, shared parking, bike lanes, leisure spaces, and a great amount of different use types. So you can see Block J is in the lower right-hand corner of the proposed development plan. Directly across the street to the east is an amenity space, an outdoor leisure space that they have programmed with a lot of great shade trees and open leisure spaces, some recreational things. And then a block over to the west is the main new mall that is being developed there with other outdoor gathering spaces, a lot of tree-lined streets, and then also a lot of variety of land use. So everything from residential spaces, ground floor retail, full office buildings, two-level retail in some areas, some hotel spaces directly adjacent to the J block and over in the B block. And so just a great mix of people working, living, entertaining themselves, playing, all of that. So now that we've been oriented to the site, we thought that we would, how are we on time? I actually have been rolling. Okay, so we figured let's do another poll. And this is, again, if you pull up your phone or get your clicker out, I think you can press sort of any button on the clicker for it to sort of wake up. And on your phone, again, just if you lost your site, just go to www.ttpoll.com. And then you're going to be prompted on your cell phone to enter the session ID, which is RACMEET, or RACMEET. And again, it's not case sensitive. You can type it all caps or lowercase if you want. And the polling is open. So we would just like to know that tonight, and I know that almost everybody probably pre-registered, and some of you have already on your registration identified if you're associated with a particular group, but it'd be great to just know, and for all of you to know too, who's in the audience with you as we start this discussion of, are you involved with a visual arts group? B is a performing arts group. C is educational organization. And D is patron of the arts. And if anybody needs a clicker and they don't have one, Sue can bring one over. So you can just raise your hand if you, okay, it looks like everybody's good. Yeah, you have to pick one. I know. We probably should have opened that up a little bit more. Because I feel like almost everybody's probably D, a patron of the arts, even if you're associated with a group. We'll probably have to fix that for future meetings. All right, we're up to 35 responses, which is still pretty good. So you still have a few seconds to get your votes in. All right, I'm gonna click end for now. All right, so half of us are patron of the arts, and probably if we were raising hands, everyone would say you're a patron of the arts. A lot of performing arts folks here tonight, and then a pretty even amount representing visual arts and educational. So would anybody like to raise your hand and just share if you had other that we didn't even include there? If there's something that we missed here that you'd like to just make sure that we know that you're here? Okay. And if anyone really wanted to vote for more than one, did you want to raise your hand and share what you would have voted for? All of the above. That's a good one. All right, we'll make a note of that. Thank you. All right, so this is the part where we thought we would want to listen to you. I mean, this is really why we're here. We obviously haven't put pencil to paper, or we haven't started modeling anything. We really just want to listen to all of you before we get started. So this is where we're going to turn us as presenters into listeners, and we want to make sure the whole audience has a voice. So we do have an hour for this next section, and we'd like for everyone, of course, to be positive and respectful of other people's time and respectful of the group that we have here. But it's really great if we could go around the room if we need to. But what we thought would be, we have 5 questions that we've prepped up here. And you can read these questions right now. I'll read them out. We're going to go one by one, so you don't have to remember them. If you don't want to speak to all 5, that's totally fine. You can save an answer for the one that makes sense to you. But the questions are sort of a big sort of BHAG question is what would make this project a success to you? Number 2 question is going to be, what type of arts events, activities, or programs would you like to see offered at this possible new venue? Question 3 is a little different, and it says, what kinds of spaces should the new Arts Center include? Question 4 is we want to get into a little bit more about equity, and so the question is, what can we do to include or create a diverse, accessible, just, and human-scaled facility? And question 5 is, what else do you feel are important considerations for the county to respond to in this opportunity? So our plan here is that we thought we'll start with number 1. And this, again, is what would make this project a success to you? You can consider answering it just from you as a personal private citizen, as you could put on your arts provider hat. You could just as a community member or an arts participant. You could think of it as yourself as an arts consumer or an audience member. What would make this project a success to you? If you think of something, we can go back, or at the end of the meeting, you're welcome to just write your own comment up on the boards as well. So we'll have a little tangible representation of what the comments were. This is obviously being recorded. We're taking notes. So all of your comments will be recorded in one way or another. But all right, I'm going to be quiet now. But what would make this project a success to you? Who would like to kick us off?
Hi, I'm with the Reston Corral. A couple of things that we are looking for are excellent acoustics, capacity for collaboration with orchestras, dance ensembles. So a stage that's large enough to, say, accommodate 200 people, chorus and orchestra, and audience capacity of about 700, because we would be pulling from multiple audience groups. And something that we're very interested in when we were talking about differently abled, also consider those that are, a facility that is sensory friendly for families that have, say, children or adults with autism. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, thank you. That was great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, could you go over, and tell us a little bit about put in perspective what 60,000 square feet, whatever, how many stories, how large is the facility?
Honestly, we're not sure yet. The whole point of tonight is to come up with a program. It might be less than 60,000 square feet. It's going to be the right size for the taxpayers' money. It'll most likely be at least 2 stories given the site. It could be 3, but it probably is closer to 2. Does that help?
Yeah, I don't want to hog the microphone, but my vision, or I think it would be nice to have a stage that has a fly,
Yeah.
and that would be
Yes.
perhaps even 2 stories in
Oh,
on its own.
I didn't count the fly for I memeant 2 occupiable stories. The fly would be clearly.
Oh, in addition to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have.
But
clarified
I think, if you look at Wolf Trap,
Yeah.
something like that you could really have a true theater with,
Yeah.
with set building, and a curtain that opens up and flies up. and so
Exactly.
on.
We were kind of assuming a fly.
What would make the project a success to me is ensuring that it encourages as much volunteerism from all aspects of the community, from seniors to school children, being involved. When thinking about this year's back, I was kind of using an acronym of an AETC, or Arts Entertainment Technology Center. There are just so many corporations that are headquartered in Reston that really could belly up to the bar here, seeing as how this is not going to be an addition to the special tax district. So the visual arts or the graphic arts, in terms of computer training or computer literacy, is important, as also some culinary arts as well. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, well, my wife and I are associated with the orchestra for her and the chorale for myself. And I would like to think, and I want to raise the issue that other than the stage and facilities there, but that there are dressing rooms and rehearsal rooms and meeting rooms, and that for flexibility and those kinds of things. And what I think is the most important thing to make it a success is to get it built.
Hi, my name is Jan, and I'm in Encore Chorale, also interested in the orchestra. So the need that I see is Encore Chorale cannot fit even on the Kennedy Center stage. They need a big space to get everyone together, and they usually combine groups from all over, Silver Spring, Glen Echo, Vienna, Fairfax, and Reston to have their concerts, and there's no place nearby that they can all congregate and perform their concerts. Also, with the orchestra, I'd like to see more room for them. So I'm looking for space for performance, and we just don't have it here. Thank you very much.
I'm Jacob. My wife and I run the Foley Academy of Irish Dance in Reston. So it's very difficult for a small community business like us to get any time at all at the high school, and I saw you had that up there. I'm sure that the other surveys have covered it, but we have to go out to Herndon to Herndon Middle School to do our recitals. There's just nowhere that we can actually get into. So I would say for us, for it to be a success, it would be great if there could be 200 people on stage. I don't know if we'd use that, but it would be awesome if we could actually get in there and be able to utilize the facility. So I don't want to leak into the other questions because for it to be a success, also all the rest of the stuff. But that's kind of the biggest reason I'm here.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kate Pfeiffer, and I'm the president of the Reston Community Players. And from our perspective, I think in order for this to be a success, what we are looking for is, number one, someplace that is accessible for all types of individuals. In particular, when we're talking about performing arts spaces and theater spaces, places that have dressing rooms and spaces that are able to be used for groups such as minors, organizations that have minors and adults mixed in the same performances, as well as our LGBTQ community, including transgender individuals. Also, I think to maximize the usage of the community as in entirety, we would love to see some smaller spaces inside this building to be used for rehearsals, as well as classrooms for education. Perhaps some small practice rooms outfitted with pianos, places that people can book to rehearse in small groups. Also, rehearsal space or dance studio space that organizations that are on the smaller end that can reserve to utilize the space. We find that those spaces are sorely lacking in this area, and that smaller organizations are being completely shut out because they don't have the money to rent some of the larger available spaces.
It sounds like we're jumping to some of the other questions a little bit. Do you want to move on to the next one? I don't know. What do you guys think? Because some of the answers are the spaces and the types of activities, so we're almost going to have to repeat a little.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody said, on budget, on time. I mean, I guess it depends. It's a feasibility study, right? So it depends if the project moves forward. Any other sort of big picture successes of what it would be? Oh, yes.
Certainly affordable for grassroots performing arts ensembles.
Great.
Can I just add also to Lloyd's point, having it built would be a good start. I just want to say that as thrilled as we have been, the Reston Chorale, to be able to call this our home, we're so excited about having an opportunity to have something that's a real performance center. And I just want to make sure that the community understands the difference. It's great to be in here, it's nice and cozy, but it's not really a high quality environment for, an evening out. And so I think that is a real important objective, which I know we're trying to accomplish here. I just think it's important for the community at large to kind of understand that.
It's a great point. Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question about this process. You mentioned that this is going to be a proffer, so are the nonprofit arts organizations going to apply to use the space and then it will be awarded to 1 or 2 or 5, or how is that going to work?
I am not sure that's all decided.
Nowhere near decided. They're taking it step by step, and that's a long way down the road and many steps ahead. Could you repeat that for the microphone, sir?
The question?
For the recording.
The answer is it's a long way off to be decided.
I think what would be a success if we could do as good or better than what they did in Drainsville and Providence at the Capital One, at the new Capital One site, that center there. Let's be better than them.
I also envision pretty much a 20 or 30 story building with a dinner theater on the top level that people can take their intermissions out and look at the mountains and the cathedral and the view that you get up on top, and make it also if the theater would also have television equipment for recording and airing the events, and also students could run the equipment. You could consider having recording studios that would also be have instruments and stuff already in there that people could come in and rehearse and record, and then again the students could be the people that the operators of the equipment. There could be a scene shop. The kids would learn those kinds of skills, and really make it a theater that involves work study, and including culinary, where the students would cook the food. Even tickets, they would sell the tickets. They would learn how to balance a checkbook and take money to the bank and deposit it, and not think that the plastic cards just pour out money from some mysterious place.
So I have the microphone, but I did want to share that I think the recording studio and the accessibility of some of the experimental technology would be extremely valuable. Just a place to play and try something new that maybe there isn't another opportunity for would be a great asset.
Yeah, hi. My name's Rudy Grunika. I'm the president of the League of Reston Artists, and since no one has been talking about visual arts, I thought I'd throw in my 2 cents, because everybody's talking about performing arts, and practically the 60,000 square feet are going to be spoken for. I want to make sure that that when the space is considered, there is a space for visual artists to have exhibits. I would also like to see the building planned with a hanging system that can be utilized for exhibiting art on the walls, and that all the walls are not taken up by windows and other things. That's really about it. I mean, you could go further and talk about having classes and so forth for visual artists, but mainly I would like to see a space dedicated to exhibits by visual artists in the area. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe we should move on to the next two questions, because we've actually encapsulated a lot of that in the answers already. The next question is actually about the types of events, activities, and programs, not necessarily the spaces. It's more like, tell us the types of things you want to do, you want to see offered at the venue. Like you say, oh, I really want to do tap dancing, or that creates a different kind of space. That's kind of what we're looking for.
Okay, so this is pretty easy for us. So there's kind of 3 classes of events that would be awesome. The most important is if we could have a recital space, which is typically we keep it to our families and extended families, just because there's some kids that aren't really up to public performing. So that's probably the number 1. The number 2 would be open to public performances from some of the more advanced dancers, open it up to the community, whether that's on St. Patrick's Day or halfway to St. Patrick's Day, to have a open performance that Reston community can come to would be great. And depending on the configuration, especially with a hotel right next door, it would be very cool to have, if there are conference rooms or ballroom type setup, to have an actual Irish dance competition in Reston, which hasn't happened in 20 years, just because it's completely unaffordable at the hotel that's currently in the town center. So those 3. So for the recitals, on the performances on the stage, it's like tap dancing, so acoustics are great, but as long as it's mic'd, we can make it work. Raised proscenium stage.
Types of art events. Local artists being able to display their works, but then also Broadway quality theater. Excuse me, I could talk really. Broadway quality theater. Let's see. Obviously, comedy events could be a larger venue, a smaller venue, something more intimate, while something larger, and then dance events, but also keeping an eye on things such as, I think of the performers that are particularly the Reston Corral that are like, we're squeezed in when we come to see them here. It's just a fantastic group, and giving them the space to hold really great concerts. And I also think of the Reston Multicultural Festival that's held at Lake Ean, and some of the great performers that are there, making sure that they have a space available for that and they feel welcome at this venue as well.
So of course, we would like to be able to do choral concerts, but also collaborative concerts like the Beethoven's Ninth, that's orchestra and chorus, Carmina Burana, recitals.
Do you want to elaborate at all on the type of visual arts? I'm looking at the visual arts guy. Maybe it would be helpful if you expanded on the visual arts you're looking for.
Well, mainly I mean, the League of Reston Artists has been around for 50 years. We've never had a space dedicated for the organization. We're a nonprofit. But we work with the RCC and other places to exhibit, and we also have the Art in Public Places program where we exhibit in businesses and so forth. So, you know, we make do, but it would be great for us to have a permanent space where we could exhibit and mount exhibits by other organizations or visual artists in the area. You know, we talked about classes, art classes is a possibility. Right now there are limited facilities at Lake Ann, for instance. That's really it. A space dedicated to visual artists.
In looking at theatrical offerings, the three kind of main scales of theatrical offerings that I think would be interesting would be, number one, touring productions, which would be brought in from outside the area, the higher level quality, either equity or non-equity tours, usually require a larger venue, larger audience. The mid-size, which is comparable to what we have here in the community center right now, suitable for your community groups. But then also the types of spaces which are, again, really lacking right now in the area are smaller black box spaces, seating that seat anywhere from 50 to 100 that smaller groups can utilize. And I would love to see all three of those types of theatrical productions be able to be offered. Not sure how feasible that is.
In terms of visual arts, I was thinking about our homeless population and wondering if there would be an opportunity for just another, I'm going to use the word experimental room for just coming in to play with art materials and use art for wellness and healing and therapy, and perhaps just a space to create without having it need to be hung on a wall.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, one idea that I haven't heard yet, speaking to the visual arts, is that we could actually have, if the space is large enough, and I mean the plat, not the building, if the plat's large enough, we could have an outdoor sculpture garden of some kind.
Nice, that's a good one.
I would like to expand on this lady's comment about activity. And I've been here in Reston for 36 years, 37 years, and I just have never seen that theater right here ever opened. It's always locked. And what good is it when you would have a facility that would be cooking with people, kids and people there from early morning to late at night, and somehow run it so that you don't have to get a key, you don't have to book it. Somehow you kind of like some of the things you show up and it's there. And I also would like to say that getting mentors, could you imagine Whoopi Goldberg coming here and teaching your kids her craft? Could you think about people coming in and from Broadway? I went to Bishop McNamara High School, and it was taught by brothers. And one of the music teachers had a friend from New York that came down and did the choreography for MAME, and it was amazing. You would think it was a Broadway show because of what he could do, and he musically and acting and so forth. So if we can, bring people in and have the kids mentored.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of the culinary arts, is also attract, famous chefs. Like we have a local chef, Andre, who does a lot for a lot of community work on some of his restaurants, and what could be a great mentor for people who are interested in that. So that would also, culinary arts. I'm going over to what kind of spaces that will need some type of a professional kitchen, but it's the next spot over.
Yeah, maybe on that segue, we can move to the next question, which we've already touched on a little bit. There was a black box mentioned, there was a culinary arts. So what kinds of spaces, and this could be anything. You could say we need a cozy space with a lobby and a fireplace where we can hang out with our neighbors. It doesn't have to be super specific. And as far as a theater space, it'd be good to understand the fly aspects, the size that you perceive would be right, the backstage stuff. So orchestra pit, trap, whatever you think is essential. We have a little bit, I think, bled over from previous.
Also, excuse me, and also the lack of just, as you mentioned, cozy, but also some community spaces. We're limited in Reston, and where certain civic organizations can get together and meet. We're very limited on that, so just having a couple community rooms available would be great.
Some folks who haven't offered comments, maybe jump in here.
Just another idea about the comedy is perhaps improv comedy classes and then a place to have a concluding performance. Additionally, thinking about the next generation of Reston or our youth in Reston is maybe a battle of the bands for our middle school and high school kids and a place for them to come.
I've already mentioned the stage and the audience capacity, but also places a space for receptions, either post or pre-performance.
And if it's okay, since I'm right here, sort of along that line, I think that there could be spaces built that could be used by businesses to have their corporate events, or an individual could rent to have a party or a birthday party or a bar mitzvah or something like that. That I think could generate additional income. I think it was mentioned over on the what would make it successful, but I think I like the idea of the having a restaurant somewhere. I like that idea.
I was just thinking, as far as the young creatives in Reston, maybe space for them to be able to just create, right? So if they want to record, or the way that they would if they had access to a recording studio, there's just so many different things that they may be able to discover if they have a space for that.
Hi, I'm Jan Bradshaw. I just want to say I've already mentioned the performance space. And I like the idea of practice rooms, but really, if you could use your imagination, at Lake Ann, Reston Community Center, they have a room that we rent out called the Gallery that has art on its walls, and I can think of no more beautiful venue to hold parties and gatherings than in an art space such as that, only bigger. So, just an idea. Imagination will take you far. Thank you.
I know it's been said already, but storage. I'm with the Reston Community Orchestra. We have timpani that we have to bring in every night that we rehearse here. That's really a chore.
Great point.
Yeah, I think we've covered like the theater, the aspect for the performances, but also think about the load in and load out, like loading docks and all that kind of stuff. Thank you.
So in terms of dividing up the total square footage, something with a modular capability, I'm thinking of soundproof modular partition walls where space can be divided in many different ways so that different sized groups can use one large space, break it into 2 spaces, 4 spaces, 8, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think flexibility is huge, to make it work for everybody. That's okay. Anybody back?
I'm sorry. I don't know if this had been mentioned, but I think it's important also to have studio facilities for filming and recording and editing and equipment and those kinds of things. Maybe it would be up high in the back of the performing center, but there should be a studio. And dare I jump out of this segment for a second to back up again and raise something that Susan had said. I think in the planning, right from the beginning, the economics should be planned and how there's going to be financial support so that rental for non-profit performing or organizations, it can be reasonable. And I think that needs to be planned right from the beginning as well. Finances are very important. Thank you.
Yes, we totally agree. That's the whole objective. And that is actually a segue maybe to the accessibility. Go ahead.
Just one more. I hate to bring up the dreadful P word, but we have to think about parking.
Yeah. Any more? Should we segue to the next question, you think? What can we do or include to create a diverse, accessible, just, and human-scaled facility? There's been a little bit of talk about accessibility, but this is a great topic to cover.
Well, as long as we're on the topic of money, that it's affordable for the folks who are going to be using it, for the community, but also that it's not costing the taxpayers a lot of money over the long run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's me again. Let's make sure that we bring our nonprofit partners into the picture. Let's not, Cornerstones would have a lot to offer here. Also including Fairfax County Public Schools, as well as some of the senior centers that are in the area, and to take advantage of the treasure that is of volunteerism as much as possible.
Good point.
I think it would be really great to include childcare.
the concept of a space that it could be a multi-use space, but to just incorporate that aspect for our community members who might not be able to participate the way they would like to without some childcare.
Okay.
I was just gonna add, if there was permanent art display space, if there could be, I don't know, if you've been to Busch Gardens, they kind of have like the different sections of the world. If we had a place that each type of community, maybe international, like from the international day that we do with Reston, if there was kind of like an area we could have dedicated to, you know, a particular cultural place, and maybe have one of the groups in the community take stewardship over that, or even just have it open as a place for art and to be posted and left for the rest of the community to enjoy.
When I mentioned sensory friendly earlier, what I meant by that was either in the main performance areas where you can adjust the lighting, you can adjust the sound levels, or having a room where you can do a live feed of a performance to another smaller room where families could go and watch the performance from there if they chose.
Yes, I think a lot of this has been answered in the previous segment when we heard about all the different kinds of rooms and facilities that should be in there. And some of these rooms should be very flexible in ability to decorate and access and doors and shades and whatever. That if it's many rooms with different sizes and different appeals and different types of facilities, makes it easier to include all the community's various activities that in which they want to engage.
Any other comments?
It's not easy for me to ask this, and it's a sort of a multi-question. Let's see, I just lost my notes here. Well, let me start this way. Do you have plans to have citizen involvement throughout the whole process? Meaning, are these the only meetings you're going to have? I assume you're going to have meetings with engineers, meetings with architects, and if you could have some citizens selected who come into those meetings, so you get citizens' recommendations throughout the whole process, because it's nothing worse than you take these 5 meetings and then you go into these rooms and then nothing happens like we thought it would be. You don't hear these suggestions directly, and as they're undergoing the process, they may be forgotten about or not implemented.
Yeah, that's a good
correctly.
point. At the moment, you know, our firm is only hired for the feasibility study, but we would imagine, as in all the similar Fairfax County projects that we do, there's always a lot of community engagement throughout the process of design. We'd show the design schemes and kind of bring the community.
And I don't mean to be rude, or it's not a loaded question, but how did you get brought into this? Are you local?
Yes.
So in other words, you know the history of Robert E. Simon and where the name Reston comes from, and what the Reston Town CEnter is all about.
I don't.
No, I'm just saying that he had a dream, and he had the town center, the plan, and we're trying to still work it out. 35 years, 50 years later, we still haven't accomplished his dream, and then people bring up taxes and money, how are we going to pay for it? Well, I don't know if Rolls-Royce is still on the top floor of one of the buildings in the town center, but Verizon's there, Oracle's around, Microsoft, I think even Google, but we got defense, we got money. And these people can cough it up and say, give us 30 years worth of running this building for the next 30 years. I think Rolls-Royce could just write a check for that, and then we don't have to be quibbling over how we're going to pay for this. I think it should be free. Anything you do in there, there should not be a charge.
Ugh. All right, should we move on to the last question? This is sort of a catch-all, whatever we didn't catch in the first 4 questions. So what else do you feel is, and that might have been a great one to put on there, is important considerations for the county to respond to this opportunity? I like the one that said, just build it, whoever said that.
In terms of the county's considerations, I'm Terry Maynard, and I'm an economist. So I think, like he just suggested about the money, and if you haven't read it, I wrote a letter to the editor in the patch and within the last week. It indicated a 60,000 square foot facility is going to cost about $60 billion. And on top of that, because this will have to be supported by a bond, there will be interest on top of that, which will probably be more than $30 million. And on top of that, looking at the operational aspects of various performing arts centers. I couldn't find a visual in performing arts center. We're looking at probably net losses between $400,000 and $500,000 a year, and that's without things being free. That's with people paying commercial admission charges to go to various performances of one kind or another. Nothing in that considers the idea that local non-profit groups would have free access or even low price access. RCC's done a good job of, over the years, of pricing between Restonians and non-Restonians, but I don't see how you could do that with a theater and the rest of that would be as large as this is. The second point I would make, well, that's already 3 points, but is that this really shouldn't be funded by Restonians. It is going to be a performing arts center, and presumably we will get good acts there, not only local, but hopefully national, and in order to generate the revenue that might help defray the cost of it. And we shouldn't be paying for all of this. If it's important, it should be done by the county, which I look at as a third choice, actually. The first choice is, this gentleman suggested, is getting the rich corporations that are headquartered within 500 feet of this Block J to pay for it. Bechtel's right across the street. Oracle is right across Reston Parkway. Microsoft is in the next door building. These companies have the money to help defray the cost of this, both in the capital cost and in the operational costs. And I believe that we need to not start thinking about what we should be spending on it, but what they should be spending on it.
Yeah, I think during this process, there's going to be a whole analysis of a variety of funding sources that are going to be explored.
So going to your question about considerations, I think somebody mentioned the P word. Dare I bring up the T word for traffic, and how you plan on accommodating traffic for a 60,000 square foot facility
when Reston Parkway and Fairfax County Parkway are really the only two major hubs between the site.
I just wanted to also pick up on sort of some of the things Terry was talking about. And I was really thrilled to hear a point that you made early in your presentation tonight. There was a line on the slide, this is not going to be funded by RCC. I think most of us have known that for months, and we just all have to stop talking about it as if that's the sort of secret plan, because I don't think that is the plan. And so I think it's good that it's in the public, and we just all need to, don't talk about that as a potential plan, because I don't think that's accurate. Also, to let you all know that I don't think any of us envision it to be limited to Reston groups. I don't think we have enough here to support such a facility. The Reston Chorale two or so years ago surveyed 50 or so organizations, orchestras, youth orchestras, theaters. I don't think we did theaters. They were music and orchestra type organizations, all the way down to Alexandria and out to Leesburg. And we had 21 highly interested organizations. So I'm saying this to say that I want the county to know there is a lot of interest, not just from outside, and a need. It's not just an interest, there's a need, similar to the needs that have been talked about here for the Reston-based groups. There are similar needs in the area. Capital One's too big for most people. Yes, it's true, there are other places. High schools you can't book and confidently because you might get bumped. Anyway, so I just wanted everyone to know there is lots of interest and lots of need outside this area, plenty to support a county-wide center.
I'm just going to make one more point, and that is, we're looking at a sum of money, whatever it is, tens of millions of dollars. And as a Restonian, my priorities are, I see other things as being more important. We have nominally planned for, about 20,000 new children in Reston. We have one new school planned in the western part of the county, one new elementary school, and this actually calls for a full pyramid of schools, all the elementary schools and junior high and the high school. We need parks. We have an urban parks policy that's ignored, and yet the specific option listed in this proffer to a performing arts center is parks. It's the specific option listed in the proffer. And anyway, you get the point. That's enough of that.
Okay, thank you. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. We have about 10 more minutes. We had left some time after the Q&A to just open it up to any other thoughts. It's okay.
I'm sorry, Lala. But nobody else wants to talk, so. I just also, another consideration, I don't certainly know the numbers, maybe Terry could help figure them out, you're an economist. But there's bound to be revenue generated from people coming to events at this venue. And so there'll be a restaurant, hotel, other revenues that will be realized, and I'm sure that that's part of the study that you're doing, but just wanted to put that in this little category there.
Yeah, and the site certainly helps that, the, multi-purpose retail, hotel nearby. So sorry, one more.
With its proximity to the metro station, I think a part of the traffic and the parking, we hope, will be mitigated by its proximity to a metro station. We hope.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious as to whether we know who, because all these issues, who will actually operate this arts center? Will it be the builder? Will it be the county? Will it be
I
a
don't think
group?
that's been decided yet.
Yeah, well, that has a lot to do with how all these things play out, I think.
It's very important, you're completely correct.
Somebody mentioned traffic, and I believe the VDOT and FCDOT, before they even break ground, they figured that out. They do many in-depth studies. And how many buildings are up already that aren't yet occupied? You said A, B, and D. Well, those buildings are going to have traffic, bring traffic. So, you know, I think that the traffic problem or situation must have already been decided on many years ago, and I think that's it's not really a concern because it's been figured out.
Event traffic.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Micro up.
All right, so there was a little back and forth about the traffic and the previous traffic studies that were probably already done to even develop the master plan versus the concern for event traffic that will happen, and it may not be the same, right? Because if there was office buildings and retail and residential, that's a certain time frame and amount and volume of traffic, but then events that could happen here could be an on-swell of additional traffic, and so we did write that down on there, and it's captured, so, okay. I mean, just to clarify, again, we'd love to dig even deeper in just performing arts next time in 2 weeks. Visual arts in 4 weeks on March 14th. I hope you have some friends that come to along with you for that. On March 28th, we want to focus on more about arts education. I feel like we really got some great ideas about ways to incorporate kids and just set up spaces for them to create and learn and share, but we'd love to get more deeply into that and talk about equity opportunities and neighborhood involvement and volunteers. And we really appreciate a lot of those comments as starting points for that. It helps us develop the discussion questions and some ideas for that. And then we'll have a general wrap up. And I'll leave this up for the last few comments, but again, there's the email there of rcccontact@fairfaxcounty.gov. Continue to send emails there with anything that you think about after the fact, and if you can't make another meeting but you want to make sure that your ideas are represented, please feel free to use that. And then the PDF and the video will all be linked from the website, which is fairfaxcounty.gov //Reston Arts Center. So that'll be an ongoing distribution place for that. Oh, yes. Oh, clickers. Yeah. If you have clickers, leave them on your chair. And we don't have to get up and leave right this second. We'll also leave the Post-its and some markers around here if you want to continue to add some stuff. Or if you feel like you need to move the Post-it, don't go crazy. Please don't move too many Post-its. I tried to move them as we went, but I know, if you want to add some stuff to that. But if anybody has any additional comments, I see you have a microphone. Sure.
Just one question. When you said we're going to dig deeper, what are you going to do? I mean, what's dig deeper mean?
So there may be some people that didn't come tonight, and so they'll be able to add their voice to the discussion, but we imagine we can talk even more specifically about what size spaces, what exact storage needs, what exact activities. I mean, my daughter used to do Shaw Nose dance, so, I understand, a flaw and what needs that might have. That may be just one part of a discussion, performing arts. So more detailed space and activity functions so that we can really right size, if there's community rooms, what are the size, how many of them, things like that. So, yes. Hold on, Julia's running around. Do we have another microphone? Sorry, you could just leave the clickers. Oh, thanks, Sue.
I know that there are some groups that are interested in this that rehearse on Monday nights and may not be able to come to the focus groups. How can they send you details on what they would like to see in this?
Okay. I think we're going to still want to use the email address primarily. So if they could list some bullet points, we can even have a back and forth if we need to there. And perhaps the last two meetings are Zoom meetings. I guess if it's still on Monday, that's not going to help. But yeah, they could also record their thoughts and send it via email, like with a link, and do a video recording if that's easier than typing things. But I think they'll accept anything that can be emailed to them. Thank you. That's a great comment. Any other questions or hopefully you feel like some of these ideas have been heard. It's been fantastic to hear everybody. I know there's some requisite things we feel like we need to list, fly and orchestra pit and all that, but then it's really great to hear some of the more creative, flexible space sharing, ways to engage other parts of disadvantaged community members or underserved communities, and we really appreciate all that input that you've been giving us. And we appreciate you spending your Valentine's Day with us. So thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you.